British India. The English language established a foothold on the Indian subcontinent with the granting of the East India Company charter by Queen Elizabeth I in 1600 and the subsequent establishment of trading ports in coastal cities such as Surat, Mumbai, Chennai, and Kolkata. English language public instructions began in the subcontinent in the 1830s during the rule of the British East India Company. In 1835, English replaced Persian as the official language. East India Company Lord Macaulay played a major role in introducing English and Western concepts in the educational institutions in British India. He supported the replacement of Persian by English as the official language, the use of English as the medium of instructions in all schools, and the training of English speaking Indians as teachers. Throughout the 1840s and 1850s, primary, middle, and high schools were open in many districts of British India, with the most high schools offering English language instructions in some subject. In 1857, just before the end of East India Company rule, universities of British Raj, English language penetration increased throughout the subcontinent. This was driven in part by the gradually increasing and hiring of Indians in the civil services. At the time of Indian independence in 1947, English was the only functional lingua in the region. Some acts have been passed by British from 1773. The Regulating Act of 1773 says that to overhaul management of East India Company's rule in India. Date June 10, 1773. The Act of Pitt's India Act of 1784 says that this act was passed to address the shortcomings of the Regulating Act of 1773. It provided for the joint rule of the Crown and Company, with the Crown being the supreme authority. Date August 13, 1784. The Act is Charter Act of 1813. It renewed the charter issue to East India Company by the British Crown but also ended the company's monopoly in certain areas of trade. Date July 21, 1813. The Act is Bengal Sati Regulation Act of 1829. This act made the practice of sati illegal in all areas under company's rule and its practitioner liable to prosecution. Date December 4, 1829. The Act is Hindu Widows Remarriage Act of 1856. This act legalized the remarriage of widows who were earlier forbidden from the marrying and shunned from the society as a result. Date July 26, 1856. Government of India Act of 1858. Following the 1857 mutiny, British Parliament passed this act to liquidate the East India Company. The colonial rule of the India came directly under the control of the British government. This act marks the beginning of the British Raj. Date August 2, 1858. Commence 1st November 1858. Act is Indian Councils Act of 1895. This act brought various amendments to the composition and functions of legislative councils of British India Raj. Date February 3, 1893. Royal Assent on June 20, 1992. Act is Government of India Act of 1990. This act expanded the participation of Indian in government when earlier only British members were allowed to take part. Date December 23, 1919. The act is Rowlatt Act 1919. This act indefinitely extended the emergency measures of preventive indefinite detention, incarceration without trial and judicial review enacted in the Defence of India Act 1915. Government of India Act of 1935. The Act allows for the greater degree of autonomy to the province of British India, ending the diarchy introduced by the Government of India Act 1919. Act is Industrial Disputes Act 1947. This act regulates the Indian labour law with regards to trades union as well as individual workmen. Independence Act 1947. It is an act of Parliament of United Kingdom that partition British India into the two new independent dominions of India and Pakistan. Almost 35 million Indians died because of act of commission and omission by the British in famines, epidemics and communal riots, and the wholesale slaughter like the reprisal killings after the 1857 War of Independence and the Amritsar massacre of 1919. Besides the death of Indians, British rule impoverished India in manner that beggars belief. When the East India Company took control of country in the chaos that ensued after the collapse of Mughal Empire, India's share of world GDP was 23%. When the British left, it was just about 3%. The British Empire in the Indian began with the East India Company, incorporated in 1600 by the Royal Charter of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth I, to trade in silk, spice, and other profitable Indian commodities. Within a century and a half, the company had become a power to reckon with in India. In 1757, under the command of Robert Clive, company forces defeated the ruling Nawab Siraj ud Dawla of Bengal at Plassey. Combination of superior artillery and even more superior chicanery. A few years later, the young and weakened Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II was browbeaten into issuing an edict that replaced his own revenue officials with the company's. Over the next several decades, the East India Company, backed by British government, extended its controls over most of India, ruling with combination of extortion, double dealing, and outright corruption backed by violence and superior force. This state of affairs continued until the 1857, when large number of companies Indian soldiers spearheaded the first major rebellion against colonial rule. After the rebels were defeated, the British Crown took over power and ruled the country more beginly until 1947, when India won independence. In this explosive book, best-selling author Shashi Tharoor reveals with audacity, research and trademark just how disastrous British rule was for India. Besides examining the many ways in which the colonizer exploited India, ranging from the drain of national resources to Britain, the destruction of Indian textile, steel marketing and shipping industries, and the negative transformation of agriculture, he demolishes the arguments of Western and Indian apologists for empire on the supposed benefits of British rule, including democracy and political freedom, the rule of law and the railways. The few unarguable benefits, the English language, tea and cricket, were never actually intended for the benefit of colonized but introduced to serve the interest of the colonizer. Brilliantly narrated and passionately argue, an era of darkness will serve to correct many misconceptions about one of the most contested periods of Indian history.